Alright, welcome back. Now, there is one ship that I kind of forgotten about. A ship that I used to fly, but as time went on, I kind of replaced it with something else, and that is the Belicose. Now, the Bellicos has 4 different variations. We have the Bellicos at tier 6, Bellicos Cortops, Bellicos Cortops 2, and Bellicos Cortops 3. This is the Bellicos Cortops 3, which technically should be classified as, I would say, the best Bellicos. Although, I have to say, the Bellicos 2 should be much cheaper, and the performance difference isn't going to be that big. Actually, let's take a look at the market, and let's take a look at how much the Belicos 2 costs. Now, the first recon ships have been changed quite a lot. They can launch Sino now. Back when I used to fly this ship, that wasn't really the case. So, Bellicos 2 Cortops costs about 150 million. The Belicos 3 Cortops costs a billion. So, there's a big difference in price indeed. And the Belicos 3 Cortops is kind of a rare ship. Now, both of these ships have a bonus on target painters. The Belicos 2 Cortops has 7.5% target painter effect, minus 10% war operator signature radius penalty. Advanced cruiser command will give you minus 4% signature radius, plus 5% medium missile torpedo flight velocity, and plus 12% medium missile torpedo damage. Now the Belicos Cortops 3 should have these stats a bit better. Let's take a look. Plus 10% target painted effect, minus 10% warp signature radius penalty, minus 4% signature radius, plus 5% medium missile torpedo flight velocity, and medium missile torpedo damage is plus 15%. So overall very similar, just slightly better. And the overall DPS in the end will very much be almost the same. And both can fit the Sun of Steel field generator, and both can fit cloak. Both have the cloaking device lock delay reduction, which is something that's been added quite a while now for the advanced Covert top ships. The tier 7 one doesn't have that effect. So overall we're looking at a very interesting little ship. Now, the ship that has replaced the Belicos for me was the Ortus. And the Ortus is a ship that I think you guys all know. I've been flying this thing ever since it was released, basically. I've caused chaos with it. I also lost a couple of them. But overall, it is a very nasty ship. And the Ortus, as of now, the mortar ships have literally the best performing missiles in the game. So, the Ortus has 641.83 DPS, which is interesting. It would seem like the Belicos has a bit more DPS, although I have the build on both of these ships a bit different. This Ortus is a close range, although it also can be modified to be a long range ship, and the primary thing about the Ortus is extra point and extra scrambler range and extra strength on the scramblers. This is the default build that I have on the Ortus. A medium to long range brawler, and sometimes I do change the build, sometimes I do change the low slot modules, but overall the Ortus is basically used in this way, and I like it. It's a very nice ship. It has, I don't know how many kills I have on this thing. I mean, you can look at the kill marks over there, but I don't know. It stops at 1,000, at 909. So I killed more than 3,000 ships on this thing. So that would be kind of sad that I can't really know the exact number. I just have way too many kills. Now the Bellicose kill marks. I'll show you where they're located at. I don't have many of the on the Bellicose. I think like 2 or 3. I haven't really used this ship much since I have the Ortus, but the kill marks on the Belicos are right here in the back. You can see it has 3 of them on this ship, which is okay, I guess. I haven't really been flying it that often. Now, the build on the Belicos. It has 712.34 DPS, which it has the same rigs as the Ortus. It just basically lacks a nanocore. It has rapid missiles. Now, the Belicos isn't a ship that is a, let's say, good tank. The Bellicos, most of the Cortops, cruisers and the Ortus rely on speed and range. They are not really ships that are designed to take hits, because their capacitors are terrible. The capacitor on the Ortus and on the Bellicos are really not that good. The capacitor on the Ortus is especially terrible. That capacitor is just yikes. It can't really run any tank for any longer period of time. So speed tank is basically the way to go. I used to have a tank built Ortus a long time ago. It worked, but I wasn't really happy with it, to be honest with you, because the tank on that thing never really performed good because of the cap. And ever since they have changed how the micro warp drives worked, the overall capacitor performance on these ships have significantly dropped off. So the Belicos is a kite ship, medium to long distances, usually against most of the ships. Against sniper battleships, you can do a close range build, which would look like something like this. I'll quickly assemble the ship here. So for a close range build against snipers, dual scramblers or triple scramblers usually the way to go. And instead of the target, you can use the target painter, although the effect of the target painter does drop off at a close distance. So the target painter usually at about 20 to 100 kilometers, but a close range build would look something like this. Maybe triple scramblers, maybe dual scramblers, depending on the target, but this would be something that I would use on the Bellicos against a battleship that has a sniper build, or a battlecruiser, sniper battlecruiser, assault battlecruiser. Now, instead of the current low slot modules, a dual propulsion build can be done easily. Now, the dual propulsion build is good, since if you accidentally land far from a target, you can easily just burn towards them with the microwave, and then you maintain a stable close range orbit around the target with the afterburner. And this thing is fast. It is a Mimota ship, and Mimota ships are known for their speed, so don't have to worry about that at all. This thing is quick. Now, for the high slot modules, you can keep the rapid missiles. They also work against. They can work against battleships, although their DPS will be lower. But for true close range brawl against these snipers, I recommend that you use the torpedo launchers or heavy assault missiles. They're the same thing, they just have a different name in this game. So the torpedo launchers will have higher DPS, lower flight velocity, shorter range, overall less damage application against smaller ships, but they will apply damage against cruisers, battlecruisers and battleships really well. So against big ships you can easily just use the torpedo launchers, but I wouldn't be using these missile launchers for anything below a cruiser. Interceptors and frigates will not take much damage from the Bellicos with torpedo launchers, and this is the reason why I usually prefer to use rapid missiles. It's basically the best of both worlds. Now let me quickly show you the maximum speed that I have on this. Now it can be faster. I have no nanocore on this thing. The nanocores are actually very interesting on the on this thing. So with the micro warp drive on, it goes 2.4. It can be much faster depending on what rigs you have, and with the afterburner, the maximum velocity is 1.1 km per second, which is fine, not bad, I'll take it. And you also have a panic button damage control, which is the only defense besides speed that you can have, and it does give you some decent stats, although again, these ships aren't really designed to take hits, so the way how this works is avoid all damage that's possible, because they're very easy to kill ships if they get hit, because they have basically no tank. Now the same idea can also be used with a true kite build, which will use the normal long-range missile launchers. And I would say the normal long-range missile launchers might be the way to go for most cases, although again I still really like the rapid missiles on the Bellicos. But you can also do a long-range build with the normal medium missiles. They have a longer range, which can be placed, which can be utilized really well with a nanocore that can extend your disruptor range, and with a build like this you can use target painters, which the ship does have a bonus on. And let's take a look. So 69 kilometers is accuracy valve, optimal 27.6 kilometers. Senior traders adjustment 43.5%. The default adjustment is, let's see, 29%. So it does help you apply even more damage, and you can also fit two of them. And this is the classic long range Belicos Covert build. Instead of you can keep the dual propulsion if you like. It also is a very nice thing to do. But for a proper kite, you don't really need to have a dual propulsion build, since you should not be getting close to any target basically. But that leaves us to the tank question. Now, again, these things should rely on not getting hit, but the other main problem is the power grid, which means that you can't really put a large extender on these things that easily. I mean, it simply lacks power grid. It lacks a lot of power. You can put a medium one, but it kind of feels weird since a large one has no power grid left, but a medium one doesn't really feel the whole thing. So that is kind of weird on this ship. And I won't use armor plates because armor plates slow you down, and speed is basically life with a Mimeter ship. So you can't really do that, but you can do something like this, and it does give you some form of, I guess, shield. But again, this shield is just going to get torn to shreds in seconds. So most of the builds that I have seen around don't really have any form of tank. They maintain distance, they maintain range, and they in most cases look something like this, with a ballistic control system, either rapid missiles or medium missiles, dual long range disruptors, and target painters. And so far, I kind of, back when I was flying this ship, that's basically the fit that I was using. The capacity lasts 3 minutes and 32 seconds. Now, technically, you can use capacitor batteries on this thing. If you replace the dimension roll with a with capacitor battery, you can do that. Although, not really necessary. But again, some ships, like let's say a Balgorn, you want to have batteries in order to be able to maintain the speed on this. Now, speaking of nanocores, this ship has a bunch of nanocores. I don't have one at the moment, but you could get some very good nanocores that basically were able to enhance your optimal range of the disruptors, which means that you were able to kite at even longer distances. You will not be limited to the default 27.5 kilometer, 27.6 kilometer range that you have on your disruptors, or 30 kilometers if you are using the Predator disruptors. So there's quite a bit of nanocores to choose from. You have the Trailblazer nanocore, you have the Neon Gas. All of these nanocores have almost, I would say, about the same total effect that is going to be. I mean, this one, a 10% extra disruptor optimal range, which is fantastic, honestly. And you can stack the effects with multiple levels on the nanocore, so you can really max out the. Technically, you can get, I think, 42 or 43 kilometer maximum range on the Bellicos with the normal long range disruptors, which is going to put you out of the optimal range of a lot of ships. and long range is definitely the way to go with this thing. Now, speaking of kiting, you can keep this build, although recently I started to prefer to have some other EWAR modules on my ships. Now, tanking missiles isn't usually that difficult against if you're flying a fast ship. Tanking missiles is not going to be a big problem, but it can be a problem against some of the newer battleships, or should I say, it can be a problem against some of the battleships with very good missile damage application. Against Bellicos and cruisers, it will not be much of a problem, since you can technically tank most of the long range ones easily. The close range ones will not have enough range to catch you because the ship is very fast. But I've started to prefer to use the EWAR modules against third ships. I use a tracking disruptor. Against missile ships, I use a gunner disruptor. Both fantastic modules. This Cortops doesn't have a bonus on any of these two modules. It has a bonus on target painters, so it's still a good idea to have them. Depending on the target, I like to keep both of them in the cargo hold, and then I swap on the ship depending on what target I'm fighting. You can also do a dual tracking disruptor build. I'm actually more worried about turrets than missiles, because the ship has a bonus on signature radius penalty reduction, which means that your total signature radius is going to be reduced, so the total damage taken is also going to be drastically reduced from missiles. But turrets are nasty. Macarials are very, very nasty ships to fight, and against Macarials, I would definitely use something like this with dual Imperial tracking and tracking disruptors, my apologies. And the target painter can be there, although against the battleship you will already be applying all of the damage, so you can technically also do dual painters, dual disruptors and dual tracking disruptors, also something that's very, very nice. Or against ships with missiles, dual guidance disruptors, also a very nice thing to have. Now as for hold a second, why didn't it fit? There we go, okay. Or, something like this. Okay, now as for the implants, you have three options basically. You have the Warhead Charge, which is my favorite. I would actually recommend the Warhead Charge, might be the way to go, but if you are worried about your target having a lot of stabs, then the Tactical Missile Implant is also going to be a very interesting one to use, but you have technically three options. Although I personally use the Warhead Charge or Tactical Warhead. Both are good implants, and I usually leave the implant choice to the palette, because I know we all have different builds, we all have different styles, we all have different ideas behind our ships, and that's fine. As long as the build is not cursed, a hybrid tank build, then I think it's not a big problem. Now, can these ships be used for PvE? Well, yeah, they can. Although I'm not really I would say I'm not really a fan of Covert Ops PvE, but they will have a special use for PvE in the upcoming Calvala expanse. Because hold on, where am I? I'm missing some missiles here. I had more C-types. Where did my C-type go? I had a fourth one. Oh well. Anyway, I believe that these ships will be very useful in the Calvala expanse. They're already quite useful in Cobalt Edge because they're cloaky. Cloaky ships are going to be very useful in regions of space with no local, and maybe they will also get some other traits that's specialized for Covert Ops ships. So, going to be very interesting ships for the upcoming updates, that's for sure. Now, the PvE build. So, depending on what you want to do, I'll just do two different two different builds here, but for Cavalry Expanse and for Cobalt Edge, you can easily just use any of the PvP builds. They will work just fine, although I would still recommend the long range build, because long range basic is the way to go. But for those systems, if you plan to go in with a cruiser, long range, with a clocking device, a PvP build is definitely one of the best PvE builds that you can have for the new regions. Now, as for classic PvE in lowsec, I would still use a PvP build. Basically, the PvP build can be used for PvE on these ships. Works really well. High sec PvE is a different story though. In high sec, you don't really have to worry about being jumped, so you are free to go and glass the ship out and basically focus on maximum DPS output. You also don't have to have a clocking device, because there is no need to clock in high sec. There is no danger to your ship, and since you already have a decent speed output, a slightly changed engineering layout is definitely going to benefit the ship the most. One afterburner, definitely what I would use. A Nosferatu, always good. Now, let's see if a large booster can fit. No, it can't. Another problem that you face with the Bellicose. You can barely fit a Mark 9, and it eats up all the power grids. And hopefully the other two slots can be utilized with a... And I have maxed out skills for cruisers, by the way, so kind of funny that I still have issues with power grid. Although I'm not really surprised, because 2 power left, yeah, I'm not going to be able to fit another one, yeah. So, unfortunately, can't fit dual ballistic controls, but I can fit another adaptive, so this would somewhat resemble a high-sec PvE build, although I would still use a second ballistic control, since, yeah, I could technically replace one of my engineering rigs, and it would help with power, but yeah, for now this will have to do. Alright, well, let's see what this little boat can do. This kind of brings back memories. I used to run storylines with the good old RB. That ship is still alive, by the way. Still have it. Good old days. I mean, the builds back then were so much different. But yeah, the Covert Ops cruisers, I mean, I think all cruisers and all of destroyers and all frigates will be very useful very soon, since we are getting that space that's very similar to abyssal space, and we'll have a ship tonnage limit that I'm very curious to see how that will work. Now, how does this thing work for PvE? Well, let's find out. Now, not exactly the best possible mission to run, because they have guidance disruptors, but they don't really affect the missile performance that much, so not a big problem in the end. The range on the rapid missiles is about 24 kilometers, 25.17 kilometers, which honestly is really solid. Can be extended much more if I go and get a nanocore for it. I can technically extend the range much more. I forgot what's the maximum possible range. I think around 40 kilometers or something. That was my record with rapid missiles. Actually, with the Ortus, I managed to get about, I think it was 100 kilometer range with rapid missiles, and about 150 kilometer range with my long range missiles. Back then the Ortus was quite expensive. Nowadays my price tag on the Ortus has been significantly reduced. The days where I flew very expensive cruisers are long gone. Although kind of funny when I say that, having two navies with integrations. Although yeah, I don't really use integrations on my cruisers anymore. Not the expensive ones, at least. The cheap ones get the job done just fine, so there is basically no need for them. But the Bellicos will have a very interesting use very soon. I'm still waiting to see what other news could roll out of the... I mean, today is going to be the patch note day, I think, so we will see what they add in the patch notes. The Kevela expanse will arrive, I would guess, end of... I would actually guess maybe end of August, end of October. Maybe actually sooner than that, we will see, but it's coming very soon, that's for sure. And I'm excited for the new content. Mostly excited for that supposed abyssal mode. I mean, I have no idea how they will pull it off. I'm very excited to see how that will go. I think it's going to be something very good. I mean, the Cobalt Edge is really solid already. Just needs to have a couple tweaks and it's basically going to be perfect. So I already talked about that last time, but if they want to make it available for different ship tonnage levels, then they would probably have to tone down the levels of nasty that the drones in the drone lands are at the moment. I mean, they're very nasty things. We all have experienced them in the Way Seeker Anomaly event, which honestly was a pretty good event. I liked it. I know a lot of my friends have obtained some very good modules. Unfortunately, I wasn't lucky to get anything good out of it. I think the only module I ever seen got stolen, unfortunately. So I didn't manage to profit off the event. I tried, but unfortunately, no luck with that. However, the Halloween event is definitely very close. And there is the speculation about if the Halloween events will return, although we already kind of had one. Kind of already had a Halloween type event, but doesn't mean that there is going to be... doesn't mean that there is not going to be more. There's probably going to be more. Just unknown. Just the time. The time is unknown. Well, not the Halloween time, but you know, if they are going to release that, we don't know when and how. But I'm more excited about the new upcoming expanse, to be honest. Looks to be quite interesting so far. The only thing that I don't really liked about the whole Cobalt Edge stuff, besides the drones being ridiculously strong, I didn't really like that Brit space having all of these nasty ships inside. Like the Brit space definitely needs to be less the way it is now. That's for sure. Because if you want to go in with a cruiser, you have to be very careful. With a frigate, I would say a fast frigate will have no issues with it, but a cruiser is going to suffer if you get decloaked or if you're slow enough. If you're not fast enough, the drones will simply delete your ship like it's no big deal. It happened to my Stratius, so I'm speaking from experience. Those drones mean business, and that's I would say that's the only thing I don't really like about that little thing, because it is kind of way too stupidly strong and way too stupidly difficult just to get to the Cobalt Edge system from the wormhole. The Brit space is definitely a a not so fun thing. Although if you have a battleship, you can just clear it. That's not a big deal. Battleships clear, frigates can just pass through, but medium-sized ships don't really have a good time. The core top ships have a good time. They can just sneak through. Core top ships have no issues with that whatsoever, which is why these ships will be quite popular. I mean, it is funny, but if you look at the price of the ships, it kind of went up ever since the announcement of the new stuff has been released. Basically, players are slowly preparing. I mean, I haven't checked out the price on the shores. That's one thing I haven't checked out. Let's see. The assault assaults are going to be very popular, I think. Yeah, there are some on the market. Well, the Talvar is the best one, I would say. Yeah, there are destroyers on the market. I would say the price definitely went up a little bit. But these ships will be very important if they release the new update the way I think they will release it. Needle jacks and basically opening up the portals to the Covert expanse. And the thing is, if you open the portal, can the portal be like scanned down? It would be funny if it can be scanned down. Basically, you open a portal and you get jumped inside. That would be funny. That's what I'm saying. There's going to be some very interesting stuff up ahead. So I'm definitely excited to see where this goes. So far, it seems to be a very interesting update. The voyage plan, thankfully, seems like that's not coming here. Thankfully, I know a lot of players have been worried about the voyage plan. Don't worry, that is not coming to our. That's not coming here. So we are safe for now, I think. Speed tanking on the Bellicose works really well. I'm very happy with the speed tank on this thing. I could technically pull off a long-range build, long-range kite PvE build. Works the same way, honestly. You can do long-range or close-range. That's really up to player preference at this moment. I personally prefer close-range or medium-range with this thing. With the RB, back when I was running PvE with the RB a long time ago, that was entirely a long-range ship. I had like 90-kilometer range, I think, with the RB with the drones back then. Was honestly pretty awesome. That's also the same ship I used for PvP. So the RB and I have a long history, and that RB is still alive in null space. I call it a personal museum where I keep all these ships, but I kind of plan to take the RB out and fly it again. For smaller, less serious targets, I might use the RB. It's definitely the more fun thing to do. Instead of just dropping the cells on a Thorax or something, I would just drop an RB, like in the good old days. Or maybe the Belicos, I don't know. I should just get all of the cheaper ships and just fly them, because the cheaper ships are also quite fun, I would say. Very enjoyable to fly. And very relaxing as well. And easy to replace if they go down. Although, throughout this whole year, I counted about 3,000 kills that I made just in this year, based on the amount of pages that I have. I just scrolled down like 300 pages just in this year, and I have literally no PvP losses. So my kill death ratio in this year is 3,000 to none. 3,000 kills, no losses. Probably the best kill death ratio in the entire game. And I'm very happy with that. I'm very, very happy with that result. One of my goals. That was one of my goals, and I have achieved one of my goals, so very happy with that. Best kill death ratio in the game, I'll take it. We will see how the next year will roll. Definitely things will change with the new regions being added, with wormhole space being added. Since we already have plans to go and become a wormhole corp. So that is on our to-do lists, and I'm personally very excited for that. Should be interesting. Should be the proper home for us, I would say. Proper home for our corp. that relies on PvP for most of the basic ISK income. But all in all, it's been honestly a very fun ride so far, and I have been enjoying the game quite a bit. I can't wait to see the salt, that's for sure. There is going to be salt, you already know it. There is going to be that one guy just spamming pot killer in the comments, as usual. That's just, you know, salt. And I forgot to use the adaptive. I was wondering what I was missing here. I was missing the adaptive, so I was basically tanking without the adaptive. Well, that means the adaptive isn't really needed, although it will help reduce the damage even more. And this is a battleship, so battleship rapid missiles usually don't do much damage to this ship, although you have to be careful, since the large rapid missiles on a Typhoon or Raven Navy are going to slap really hard, and if you get webbed, you might be in trouble. So definitely, if you're fighting these ships, definitely avoid getting webbed, because if you get webbed, you might get yeeted. And also, one of the ships that you also should avoid being close to is a Vindicator and a Balagorn, basically. And these ships are being killed by kiting. You don't brawl a Balagorn. Brawling a Balagorn, brawling a Vindicator is not a good idea with a cruiser. Unless you're a heavy tackle cruiser like the Fiend, where it's specialized to be dropped at 0 and basically bubble and hold until reinforcement arrives. Any other cruiser that gets close to these ships is basically roasted. So yeah, don't brawl these ships. Kite is the way to go, and kite will remain the way to go on the Bellicose here. It's a very good kite cruiser, honestly. It's also quite speedy, so no complaints about the performance so far. This thing is just awesome. With the implant, you can just make the DPS. You can increase the DPS much more. Although my default DPS here is already pretty decent, but it can always be. Oh, and the game crashed. And the game crashed. Okay, that's stupid. Why does this happen? No idea. It always happens in the worst possible moments as well. It's so annoying. Doesn't happen on my phone though, but happens on my tablet, which is very, very annoying. In any case, let's log in. And the ship will warp, and basically I will lose some time running this mission. Funny how my ships never warp when they have to warp, but they always warp when they don't have to warp. This is 100%, like, it's always been the case, never been different. That's just bad luck. Pinnacle of bad luck. Nothing I can do about that. Oh well, let's continue slapping the Raven, which will get killed very soon. And after that, I will make my way to the home base. But overall, very happy with the performance of the Bellicose. I think this ship might be very close to the Hugin, I believe. Actually, no, Hugin has the bonus on webs. I think the Rapier has the bonus on target paint. It's been a while. I probably messed up the skill bonuses on the ships, but this thing is very, very similar to one of these ships. So that would be that's how I imagined to use this ship when I first got it. And all of my ideas to use these ships to use them and build them as EVE Online ships has so far proven to be a very smart thing to do. No issues with the performance, no issues with the combat. Everything basically works the way I imagined that it would work, so I'm very, very happy with that. And it means that if you are coming from EVE Online, then you can apply the same knowledge that you have there, and it will work. There's just a little bit difference in where you put the modules in, but besides that, everything else is about the same. Not much of a difference performance-wise, honestly. That's why I was able to quickly, to basically very quickly advance through the ranks, as they say. I was able to basically climb up the ladder of success very quickly within my ships and within the PvP realm, because I already knew how everything should work and how everything does perform. And there are differences, but the differences are honestly like minimal, and it really can be negligible, to be honest, at this moment. If you have experience from EVE Online, then it is not going to be a big problem to basically pick up and basically continue with this game. Alright, well, time to dock. Very happy with the Belicos performance. It's a very awesome little ship, and I'm definitely looking forward to see what the Kelval expense will bring to the table. I would say these ships will definitely go up in price, and they will definitely go up in value a lot, since they can cloak and they still have fantastic performance. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this little run with the Bellicos. If you would like to support me, feel free to like and subscribe, and with that being said, stay safe, as always. I'll see you next time.